Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm going to be talking about episode 4 of season 2 of A Game of Thrones called The Garden of Bones. First of all, we've got two new locations in the credits, Qarth and Harrenhal. Both look really nice, but I have to say that Harrenhal I think looked the better of the two. It just looked visually more interesting. I was really weirded out by it while I was watching the credits. And then when we get to see it in the actual show, there was just something really unearthly and creepy about it that just really put me off. And even I could kind of feel a little bit of something go down my spine when Arya pointed out that it was dragon fire that could do that to stone. As for Qarth, um, apparently it's a jumped up matte painting of one of the Middle Eastern battlefields from Medieval to Total War. Yeah, now look, I understand this is a TV budget we're dealing with here, and it was certainly a very nice matte painting and all that other stuff, but it was just so obvious that's what it was. But let's keep talking about that scene since we're right there. And I have to give a lot of credit to Dany. She really pulls that scene off so well. I mean, she's standing there with literally almost nothing more than the clothes on her back. And even then, she is strong enough, brave enough, and proud enough to demand to be treated as a queen. And it works. This is where we really start to get to see a lot of the strength that Dany gains as the series goes on. And I think that was a wonderfully acted scene, so a lot of props there. And the merchant that invites her into the city, I'm not even going to try and say his name, so just for fun, I'm going to call him Z-Man. His description seems remarkably different from what I remember in the books. Yeah, but then this could just be my memory failing me, but whatever. Either way, I like the guy that they have playing him, and I think he's going to do a really nice job with the character there. Um, I should take a moment to remind everybody that yes, I have read all the books, but I've only read them once, and it's been more than a year since I've read A Clash of Kings. So if I forget some detail, or if I get the show continuity and book continuity mixed up, please forgive me. So anyway, since we're talking about the new stuff in the opening credits, let's hop on back to Harrenhal and what's going on with Arya there. First of all, we do get to see her new prayer, her list of enemies, and hearing Sophie give that line. Is it Sophie that's plays her? God, I am so terrible with names. Anyway, that just really drove it home for me. I mean, this is something Arya does constantly in the books, and it even gets a little annoying after a while, but looking at that scene, the absolute misery that she is in, you know, I really can't blame her for going there and for sticking with that. And I do have to give the show a lot of credit for that. I remember that being a terribly, terribly dark scene, a place in the books, but just seeing it here in the show, it just literally makes you, even as a viewer, just want to run in the opposite direction as fast as you can. And then when you stop and realize that as bad as all of this is, in real life, things just as bad as this did happen. Things worse than this happened. I remember a documentary I saw one time about on the History Channel about like torture in medieval England, and you know, some of the stuff that people did to each other back then. Game of Thrones what we see on Game of Thrones is in some ways tame to what actually happened in real history, and it is genuinely scary to see, even in fiction, just how insanely cruel people can be to each other. But let's continue on with what's going on with Arya. One huge change from the books is that it's Tywin Lannister who she becomes the cupbearer for. Now in the books it was Roose Bolton. Now again, my memory of exactly how all the details break down from here is a tiny bit hazy, but her becoming Roose Bolton's cupbearer what presaged some really, really, absolutely huge stuff for Arya in the books. And now that it's Tywin who's taking his place, and Roose is off hanging out with Robb and being a big dick. Yeah, I'm really kind of curious as to how things are going to break down from here. I like this. I like that there are enough differences from the books that I can still be surprised, that I can still be eager to see what's happened. And it's not just a case of me being eager to see scenes I liked from the books being played out. They've honestly made changes to the story that are keeping me intrigued as to how it will affect the overall plot. So again, a lot of props to the writing team for that. Okay, let me see. Well, I've got my notes here off to the side as I always do. Okay, since we were talking about Roose, let's hop over to where he's having that little conversation with Robb. And, this very much demonstrates the philosophical things that are going on here. Robb just wants his sisters back. He wants his dad's bones. He wants his dad's sword. And then, screw the rest of Westeros. He's going to go back to Winterfell, rule the North. That's all he wants. He does not want the Iron Throne. But I have to and Roose is obviously not thinking like that. And Roose is basically advocating the philosophy of, how to put it, hard hand. Yeah, he's basically advocating, let's just call it what it is, brutality. There is no real philosophy that. I guess it's the philosophy of a dead enemy. The only good enemy is a dead enemy. While Robb is ascribing to the philosophy of we have to be better than the people we fight. And while that is a noble stance for Robb to take, forgive me if I I cannot remember the rather odd name of the septa or nun, or let's just call her a nun. That's what she is. Who kind of questions him, and she does point out to him that Robb has no plan. Robb is just going to go down and wreck things until he gets what he wants, and then he's going to go home and leave other people to clean up his mess. And she points it out very wonderfully when Robb tells him, like, look, that guy whose foot you just cut off in front of me, who I helped you with, I didn't have anything against him. It's not personal. And she points out to him, well, it wasn't personal for him either, but his life is now infinitely worse because of him having come in contact with you. He is unlucky that you were here. So really, this is a lesson for Robb that even though he is trying to do good, even though what he wants to accomplish is noble, he can't do that no matter how hard he tries, no matter how much mercy he shows to captured enemies and all that. He's still going to have to go out there and have people who have never done him any harm die. He's going to have to go out and destroy things that belong to innocent people, to wreck lives, to ruin lives, to hurt people. And as much as Ned has raised his kids to be moral, to be upright, to be the man that passes the sentence should swing the sword, Robb's really only had very limited experience with having to really, walk the walk. And as he learns, it's a lot harder than he probably expected. So let's pop over to King's Landing, and wow, talk about another change that from the books that I think is an improvement. The scene with Joffrey. I mean, him having Sansa beaten, certainly in the books, and it was a pretty tough scene to read. I really kind of felt bad about how much I disliked Sansa previously, but that is nothing compared to what Joffrey does with the prostitutes. I mean, just watching that, I really felt like physically turning away, and I mean, it was just really horrifying. I really can't think of any other word for it. just to know that, again, that somebody could do that to other people. And it got me thinking about how Joffrey likes hitting people. He likes hurting people. He likes causing them pain. And he's certainly not above doing that to the woman who, as Tyrion points out, is going to be his wife someday. And obviously, you can certainly make the case that this is something that Joffrey picked up from Robert. The fact that he was willing to go out and smack Cersei, as satisfying as it might have been to some of us fans at times, Robert was still wrong to do that, and he even acknowledged that. But Joffrey is going so far beyond anything that Robert ever did. And the only person I can honestly say that we can blame for this is Cersei. Joffrey is the child that she created. And as we've seen, even Cersei is terrified of him. Even she has not realized the monster that she has unleashed. And now everybody around Joffrey is going to pay for it. And the only person who can seemingly hold him back is Tyrion. And as good as Tyrion is at playing the Game of Thrones, he's not perfect, and even he is not going to have an easy time dealing with some of the things that are going to be coming down the line. But let's keep going. Okay, thing I've got to talk about real quick is the stuff between Renly and Stannis. It's a very different scene from the books, but the line where Renly simply says, "I loved him once," that says so much about this. And basically, it says a lot about the Iron Throne and its power. This is what power can do to people. This can take two people who at one point loved each other and make them perfectly willing to kill each other. And while Stannis has probably always been sort of a dick, they're still brothers. And he even basically kind of, let me look at the exact words he says. Clean ways don't win wars. He's willing to kill his own brother, to do and consort with a dark power, just for power of himself. That's how much he's willing to sacrifice for power. So, yeah, you know what? I think I'm just going to leave it at that. So, oh, yes, Melisandre's baby. Ever since this show was basically announced, this is something I have been waiting for. Just so I could imagine the people at home who don't know the books seeing this scene and basically soiling themselves. I mean, even when I was reading this in the books, I was like, what? What in the world did I just read? Because this is where we get our first real taste of what magic is like in the Game of Thrones world. And here's one to H.P. Lovecraft. He indeed was Providence. Anyway, so yeah, I hope everybody who saw that scene at home was wearing old underwear, so let's leave it at that. So anyway, let's time to wrap this up. Overall, I think this is definitely an improvement over last week's episode, which was a lot of setup. Here, things are really starting to move forward. And like I said, the changes that have happened are really making me curious as to how things are going to play out differently here in the show. As always, the acting and writing is absolutely tremendous. This is definitely not an episode to be missed. Anyway, until next time, guys, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course, you can continue to follow me on Twitter. Until next time, have a good one.